All right, welcome back. Great to see you again. So this morning, as you remember, we talked about how you can talk to your soldiers, your family members, when there's a problem in a way that not only solves the problem, but I think more importantly, it strengthens the relationship. Great. And what we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to talk about now, not the problems, the hard stuff, but when someone comes to you, when someone picks you to be the person that they share their good news with, how do you respond? Do you respond in a way that strengthens the relationship? Or do you respond in a way that over time starts to gradually erode the relationship? Because here's the rub, folks. Most of us believe that the quality of our relationship is determined by how you would answer the question, will you be there for me when things go wrong? Right? So how many of you feel like, hey, when a soldier or one of your kids or your spouse comes to you and says, look, I got a problem. There's something really weighing on me. I need your help. How many of you feel like, yeah, I'm there for that person? Let me just see a quick show of hands. That's great. That's great. But here's the rub. The work that we're going to talk about now tells us that even if every time someone has a problem and they come to you, you're there for them, you're interested, you help them solve that problem, that's not what makes for a strong relationship. That what makes for a strong relationship, the best relationships, the relationships that flourish, that build your resilience and the other person's resilience, is the answer to this question. Think about this. Will you be there for me when things go right? Will you be there for me when things go right? I mean, that's not even a question it hardly seems to make sense, that question. But that's what we're going to talk about now. It's called, if you look on the screen behind me, active constructive responding. So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so Dr. Shelley Gable studies relationships. And she looks at when someone shares good news, when someone picks you to be the person to share his or her good news with, how does the other person respond? And the other person could be the husband, the wife, it could be a best friend, your battle buddy, it could be your soldier. And what she finds is that there are 4 ways that people respond. 4 ways. And of these 4 ways, only one actually strengthens the relationship. Each of the other 4, over time, start to erode the relationship. In fact, when she studies these relationships, she finds that only one style predicts how long that relationship will last. If you fall into the other 3, and we're going to go over all 4 in a minute, your relationship is more likely to end. So that's why it's so important that we not only talk about the tough stuff, and will you be there for the person when there's a problem, but we have to talk about the good stuff, and will you be there for that person when there's something good going on. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to describe to you the 4 different styles, and as we go through this, folks, I want you to just listen to these styles and start to think about which is your typical style with the key people in your life. All right, we're going to go through each 4, and then we'll talk about them and why these matter so much. So I'm going to start right here at the top where it says active, constructive. That's what we're going to talk about. And you'll see that it has the gold around it because that's the gold. We're going for the gold. That's the style that strengthens the relationship. Each of those other 3 are styles that cause that relationship to weaken and over time to go away. I mean, the relationship ends. So active constructive. So authentic interest. When someone shares good news with you, right? And by good news, what do I mean? I mean, hey, I got a new dog, or I got a promotion, or oh my gosh, I'm so psyched for this weekend because me and my friends, we're going to go to this concert that we've been really dying to see. So what do those things sound like? What have we learned in this course that sounds like? I got a new dog, I'm going to a concert.
Want the good stuff?
Yeah. This is just hunt the good stuff, but now sharing it to others. That's all we're talking about here. Exactly. So, okay, someone shares good news with you. Do you respond with authentic interest? I want you to circle in your binders the words authentic interest, because we're going to talk about, can you fake this? But active constructive is when there's authentic interest. Great. And when you respond with authentic interest, maybe you ask some questions, you're positive in the way you're speaking, you help the other person to relive that good news. You help the other person to really savor that good news. So that's what we're going for. Active constructive. And it's not cheerleading. It's not, you don't have to have pom-poms and say, yay, you. That's not what it's about. It's about being with the other person when they share good news with you. So that's the one we're going for. Authentic interest, active constructive. But let's look at the other three. So the next one, if you look down here, passive constructive. You'll see that it says distracted. So someone shares good news with you and you're kind of just, still, typing on your BlackBerry. Oh, that's nice. Oh, good job. You're barely making eye contact. You're hardly engaged. Maybe you say, well done, attaboy. You give them a quick, slap on the shoulder, good job. But that's it. There's no connection. There's no engagement. The conversation just fizzles out. The person picked you, right? They picked you to be the one to share their good news with. And you say, oh, that's nice while you're sending a text message. How do you think that other person feels? What do you think? Not important. What else? Absolutely not important. What else?
You don't care?
Yeah. I mean, I chose you to be the person to share my good news with, and you're not even making eye contact. You're not even setting aside your BlackBerry or looking up from your email or stopping walking to be with me. The person feels like you don't care. They feel hurt. They could feel embarrassed. Why would someone feel embarrassed? Right? So, yeah.
Like maybe their good news wasn't good news after all. If you didn't care, maybe they're just embarrassed by it now.
Sure. So I think it's good news, but because you seem distracted and not engaged and not even interested, makes me second guess whether this was really good news. So passive constructive. I just think about that. Think about how many times your kids come home. You've had a long day. Your kids come home, or your wife comes home, or your husband comes home, or one of your soldiers says to you, hey, this good thing, and you just say, oh, that's good, nice job. How many times a day are we feeding the people we love this passive constructive style? Got to think about it. Okay, so that's style number 2. Now we're going to go across to passive destructive. So passive destructive is, again, someone shares good news with you, and it's like it didn't even register. Like someone says to you, I'm going to this great dinner tonight, or my son, I got this great letter from my son. It's the first letter I got from home in a long time, and you say, oh, you got a letter from your son? That's great. Let me show you. My kids sent me this video of themselves. It's going to make you laugh. It's so funny. It's a video of them putting on this act for me. It's hysterical. You change the channel. I brought you good news, and you, instead of listening to my good news and being with me in it, you change the channel. And now, suddenly, instead of talking about what I want to talk about, what are we talking about?
What you want to do.
Yeah, you've just wrestled the conversation away from me. Sometimes this takes the form of like one-upping. Like someone might say, I got this, I'm going to get a promotion. And then the person who hears that good news says, oh, you're going to get a promotion? That reminds me. I got a promotion, and I got this amazing pay raise and all this new responsibility. And I'm heading fast. I'm really making it fast and furious in my career. So you're kind of one-upping. You're changing the channel. Does that one make sense? Okay. How do you think the person feels when that goes on? They picked you, and instead of talking about them and their news, you're talking about yourself. How do you think the other person feels when this happens? Disappointed. What else?
Confused.
Yeah. Like, why confused? That's great.
Well, if they're coming whose news is this about?
Yeah,
Or
right.
your news or my news?
Exactly. Hey, I thought we were. I thought this was about me. I thought this was a little me time here. How did we suddenly become you? Great. So the person can feel disappointed. Person can feel confused. Person can feel hurt, right? Like I went out of my way to share this thing with you, and you're one-upping me, or you're just completely sort of ignoring me and changing the conversation. That can feel hurt. Person can feel hurt. Okay. So again, think about your soldiers. Think about your family members. Think about your best friends. How do you respond when they share good news? I want you to be thinking about these three, and now I want to add one more. So the last one is called active destructive. This is when the person is a parade. They're a parade, and you're a great big nimbus cloud just raining down on their parade. They're a picnic, and you're a bunch of ants. They're upside, and you're going to find every downside to that person's good news. Every upside, you're going to find something. It's like I'm going to play spot the problem. And you're not necessarily trying to bring that person down. I mean, you might be thinking, well, whoa, wait, I have some concerns. It's my responsibility. It's my job as the leader or the wife or the husband or the parent or the friend. It's my responsibility to point out concerns. So you might not be doing this because you're trying to be a mood kill, but let me tell you the effect it has. That if someone brings you their little bundle of joy, right, their happiness, their good news, and you are active destructive, that's like stuffing their good news in a bag and running away with it. You are stealing their good news. And when this happens, people feel angry. Like, how dare you take my good news away from me? They feel angry. They feel hurt. What else do you think happens over time? If every time I go to Master Sergeant Gonzalez or Sergeant Gomez with my good news, if they respond by being negative, by squashing it, what do you think I'm going to start doing? Yeah, guess who's not going to be sharing good news with them anymore? Me. And so this style is, I mean, how many of you have either done this to someone else, got to be honest, or have had it done to you? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and how does it feel? I mean, when you're the person on the receiving end, and that's such a great way to, like you're insignificant. That's a great, scribble that down. Because if you just write that on the side of this box, because I think that is exactly how the person feels. Like, I don't matter to you. You don't care enough. All you want to do is squash me. If you really cared about me, you wouldn't respond by being negative and pulling me down, taking away my joy. So the person can feel insignificant, can feel angry, hurt, and all of those negative emotions we talked about. Okay, so just real fast, we've got these 4 different styles. Active constructive, that's the one we're going. We're going for the gold. That's where you're authentically interested. Passive constructive is just where, it's kind of like, attaboy, well done, but it's just, you kind of didn't even hear it. Just the news kind of went in one ear and out the other. We've got passive destructive. That's where you're changing the channel or one-upping. Someone brings you good news, and instead of being with them and their good news, you share your good news, and suddenly the conversation's about you instead of them. And then the last one, active destructive. That's where they're the parade, you're the rain, they're the picnic, you're the ants. You're stealing their joy. So those are the 4 styles. Now, I know you have questions because every time we teach this, there are a lot of questions about these 4 different styles. So before we go on, I want to pause and I want to answer questions you have about why that style, active constructive, is the best, what might make that hard for you, any questions you have. So what do you got? Yes.
What if I just don't care about the news they're sharing?
Oh, did you hear that? Sergeant Gomez said, love that question. Well, all right. So what if the good news is, my soldier tells me that he got this new motorcycle And to be perfectly honest, I don't care about the motorcycle, or, my spouse told me she got this great manicure and I don't care about manicures, or my kid comes home from school with this drawing and it looks like a bunch of squiggles to me and I'm not really into the drawing. What if I don't care about the person's good news? That's a great question. So let's think about that. What are you showing authentic interest in? Because remember we said the key words with active constructive is authentic interest. So what do you think you have to show authentic interest in? The person. Yeah, it's much easier if the good news happens to be something you also care about or are interested in. That makes it easy, right? Because you can just start talking. But when you're not interested in that person's good news, you don't care about the motorcycle or the manicure or the squiggles on the piece of paper. If you care about the person, that's what matters, is showing authentic interest in the person. So how do you do that, by the way? Like, how do you show authentic interest? Is it jumping up and down and saying, "Wow, that's great, I'm so proud of you"? Like, how do you show authentic interest? What do you think?
Asking questions?
Yeah. So asking questions. Sometimes people hear that about active constructive and they say, yeah, well, with all due respect, ma'am, that might work for those real zestful people or those rah-rah people out there. That's not me. And the thing we have to be really clear about, this isn't about cheerleading. It's not about rah-rah. It's about being with the person and helping them to relive that experience. And so the easy way to do that is just to ask some questions. Oh, what kind of motorcycle? What color did you get for your manicure? Oh, what were you thinking of when you drew that picture? Just by asking questions, even if you don't care about the thing, if you care about the person, then you're going to be doing ECR, and that's what this is all about. Great question. Who else has got a question? Yeah.
What if the good news that they're sharing is dangerous? Should I continue to encourage them?
Okay, what if the good news, so you're telling us that someone comes to me and says, wow, Sergeant, I'm so excited. I got this motorcycle, and I don't have the license to drive it, but man, I am excited. I got me this motorcycle. It's big and it's fast. And me and my buddies, we're going to go drinking, because that'll make it more fun. And we're going to get really drunk, and then we're going to go drive this motorcycle down the windy roads back behind. Am I telling you, is Shelley Gable, the researcher, telling you that you're supposed to show authentic interest and help the person elaborate the experience? What if the thing that the person's all excited about is dangerous? What do you think? What should we do in that case?
Should trump it.
Yeah.
Danger trumps it.
Good. Yeah. So, look, let's be real world about this. If what the person is sharing with you is dangerous, truly dangerous, because I'm going to push back in a sec, but if it's truly dangerous, then you got to follow your instincts and say, look, this isn't about sharing this person's joy. This is about making sure this person stays safe. And that trumps, I love that word, that trumps being active constructive. But here's why I just want to push back a tiny bit. Because sometimes I think, particularly as leaders, you're trained, right, to look out for people. That's your job as a leader. You have to look out for your soldiers or you're not doing your job. So sometimes something isn't truly dangerous, but we might respond by being active destructive just because it sort of heightens that, whoa, there could be a risk here. And so I want you to start to think about, as we go through this skill, is it possible that it's not really dangerous? And so you don't have to, you could still use the skill. You don't have to stop everything. And that you could have conversation 1 be about sharing their joy, be about being authentically interested. And then conversation 2, which maybe is going to happen the next day, maybe 2 hours from that, where you're going to say, you know what, I was thinking more about that, and I do have a few concerns. But that in that first conversation, since it's not about true danger, you could be with that person in their joy, in their happiness, and solidify, strengthen the relationship. And we're gonna practice that after you guys try this skill out. But that's a great question. Katie.
So I can see where active constructive is a good thing.
Yep.
But I'm busy. I think we're all really busy. Like, how does this actually fit into the day? Just seems time consuming.
Okay, great. So, right, I mean, come on. Like, you guys have jobs to do. So, I mean, how long? I mean, am I sitting here saying that every time someone shares good news with you, you need to stop everything, sit down, maybe pour a cup of coffee, and have a 45-minute conversation? Is that what this is? What do you think? But how long do you think it takes to show authentic interest?
You get a
Just
couple
a
of
few
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. A couple minutes. I mean, so I think, Katie, you're right that the fear is like, oh, come on, really? Like, I have a day job, you know? I mean, I got things to do. I can't. But this active constructive, I mean, if you are with the person, they share the good news, you ask 2 or 3 questions, hey, that's great, nice, you ask a couple questions, that's it. That's money in the bank. Because what, again, the research shows is that it's just that style. Of all the 4, it's just that one that strengthens the relationship. Because I know what some of you are thinking, because I thought this too. Some of you are thinking, all right, well, I don't do that active constructive all that much, but at least I'm not that guy. I'm not the person, I'm not the nimbus cloud raining on the parade. I'm certainly not the ants on the picnic. So I'm okay. My relationships are okay. And I just want to remind you that only the one with the gold around it strengthens a relationship. Each of the other 3. So if you're the kind of person that says, hey, nice job while you're texting, or hey, you know, attaboy, proud of you, and then off you go to the next thing, and you've never stopped and really connected to that other person, your relationship is at risk because it's only this one that keeps the relationships going. Only that one. All right. So let's just do a quick summary. Someone just tell me, what's the one style here that we're going for? Active constructive. Great. And in a few minutes, we're going to do some role plays so you can see how each of these 4 styles look like, what they look like in real life, and then you're going to do a couple activities around this. Thank you very much.